What's good, beautiful people? Welcome back to my channel. I am Kenya right now, and today I am super excited to present to you an interview with Evita Evie Robinson of Nomadness Travel Tribe. Evita is the creator of Nomadness Travel Tribe, which is a Facebook group with more than 16,000 members. Nomadness Tribe is one of the leading groups in Black travel, inspiring, motivating, and encouraging folks to get out there and travel the world. Don't be scared. Nomadness Travel Tribe has been featured in numerous publications such as Ebony Magazine, Essence Magazine, Huffington Post, Mashable.com, The Daily Beast, and the New York Times. Evita herself has been an on-air special guest for shows such as News One, CNN.com, and MSNBC's former Melissa Harris Perry show. Not too shabby, right? Today, I'm talking to Evita about what inspires her to keep going, some of her many different business ventures that she's gotten off the ground, and just what keeps her going. How does she do it all? And I'm going to try to keep this short, but just to add a little bit more to tell you what she's getting into these days. She has just recently launched her new business line of lipstick colors called Compass by Evita. It connects the different lip colors with causes in countries around the world. She is also a resident of TED Talk. Her and about 24 other residents have been participating in the TED Talk residency for about 3 months now, and they will be preparing their TED Talk speeches in June. So stay tuned for that around fall. But all the other links that you need to connect with Evita will be listed in my description box down below. So be sure to check that out and stay tuned. It's a long interview, but it's well worth it. Very inspiring, very motivated, and trust me, it's gonna get you pumped to wanna go out and do something, be it start a business or travel. Either way, do it. All right, thanks for watching, you guys. Okay, so let me jump into this because I know you have limited time.
Yeah, you look gorgeous, by the way. You look great.
Thank you.
I haven't seen you in so long. It's like it's hitting me now.
I know, this is the thing. Like, it's finally. I wanted to interview you when I first met you in person. In like 2013.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Bali Nomadness trip, which is crazy. That was like so long ago. But yeah, so I would just want to say thank you for taking the time out to talk to me. Now I know you have a crazy, crazy, crazy busy schedule.
No, it's cool.
But let's start with your new business venture, which is Compass by Evita. So with everything that you have done up until this point, let's start with the question that you have on your website. Where does your compass point to now?
Ooh, hit me with my own shit. No, my compass, and I'm going to preface this. I'm going to preface this by saying compass is very personal to me, right? The idea of compass was really bred from, I give a lot to others in Nomadness. You've seen this in person. You see it in the online platform. I'm there when it's pretty. I'm there when it's shitty. You know what I'm saying? But I'm there. And that takes a lot out of me sometimes. And I have to recharge. And so as my personal brand was starting to grow in tandem with Nomadness, I was like, what's something that I like? Like, take all these other people out of it. Take tribe out of it. What is something, let's start at basic, something simple that I like, that I use, that I could, really create something of my own. And as a businesswoman, find a space to even potentially monetize it. And so really it started with me looking at myself, and as the first video that I dropped, of my why, I was very candid about the fact that I hate my teeth. Like, I can't wait to just get that first big check. I'm flying to Thailand and I'm getting veneers within like a month to get them taken care of all at once. But it never stopped me from really loving like bold lipstick colors, but specifically matte and specifically long wear. I do so much. I'm talking all the time. I'm running around. I'm eating. It's this, that, and the other. And I need something that stays on me. I grew up a tomboy. I'm not somebody that is diligent about going to get her nails done. I'm a bit grungy, and so I need things that have staying power. And so long wear matte lipsticks have always been like my thing. So that's my preface in looking at me. Now, where does that lead my compass to point towards? because it is personal to me, I'm going to answer this on a personal level. My compass points towards motherhood. I want a family. This is something that I have had baby fever for a couple of years, but even though not a millionaire yet, I think I have the train moving on the proper track enough where I'm really starting to play with that thought, and see what I can manifest in my life. So I would say my compass is pointing towards, future motherhood, lasting love. And as far as places right now, I would say Johannesburg, South Africa.
Gotcha. Yeah. That has definitely been a theme for you a lot when I've heard you talk, or just always going back to South Africa and Johannesburg. Would you ever consider adoption?
I would. If I got to a point where, say for instance, there was a situation in which I couldn't have babies. And it's so weird you say that, because when I was younger, and I don't know how much merit this has, I've always saw myself with 3 kids. And for some reason, 2 of them were my own, and one was my own, but not one that I physically gave birth to. So I didn't know if that meant I was going to end up with somebody who maybe had a kid and then we got together, or adoption. I mean, I've traveled to places in the world where I've seen kids need it right here in the United States, and so I would be open to it. But I do know personally, I want to actually go through the process. I know this sounds fucking crazy, but I want to go through the process of actually, bringing physical life into the world, through my body.
Right. No, that doesn't sound crazy at all. I mean, a lot of, that's part of the motherhood, is the process of giving birth and feeling another human being inside of you. So navigating beauty for change is something that you said in one of your videos. How are you doing that with the company that you have now?
So with Compass, one of the things, I'm so motivated by everybody I'm around at TED, right? So I was building out this idea while I was at TED, and one of my TED residents, Evita, is amazing. And she and her family are actually originally from Syria, Aleppo specifically. And I was kind of just brainstorming with the women at TED and talking to them about how I wanted to start this lipstick line. I wanted to have the travel component mixed into it, because that's so much of what, it's something that I hold close to me and something that resonates with my community. And I don't want to ever come out with something that would ostracize the community I've already built. It makes no sense. But it was really having conversations with Maytha specifically that was listen, anybody, not to dumb it down, but anybody can come out with a lipstick line and name it after places around the world. But is there another component to it that you think you can add? And she kind of left it open-ended. And I was really sat down in the afternoon, and being in TED offices is like being in an incubator anyway. And I was like, you know what? I was like, how cool would it be if we had our colors coincide with causes that were in each of these places? So we're doing our own part to kind of give back. And that's when the whole idea of navigating beauty for change came about, is because we buy makeup all the time. And in many cases, for women who are really, really into this, they spend so much money on makeup. I mean, hundreds. I thought about it one day. I started taking my makeup bag in my carry-on when I travel, because if I don't really trust the airline and my stuff gets lost, it's one thing to lose clothes and being able to just go to a store and get an outfit for a day. But I realized that there's probably a good $300 or more worth of makeup in my makeup bag. And I was like, wait a second, this is I'm walking around with a camera. And so I started pulling it out of my check bag. And now I literally travel in my carry-on with my makeup, because I was just like, wow. And so when I started to pay more attention to it consciously, I realized that this is something that we put a lot of money towards, but that we value. And I wanted to use something that women specifically, cater to every day. They feel good every day when they put it on, and see if there's a way that we can add value to somebody else's life by doing that. And that's when I started to come up with the idea of bridging the causes.
So talk about that. Talk about how the company actually does bridge the cause and link it with the different lip colors, and what causes are you addressing, or what needs in the world are you addressing right now through this lip color line?
Right. And what I like about it is that it gives me a sense of freedom. A lot of times when you partner with one company or one nonprofit, you're stuck to them. I like the fact that we're kind of touching and going on a lot of different fronts around the world. I think that's really cool. And so what we're doing is literally when you go to compassbyevita.com and you go on the website and you look at the colors, it gives you a link to the cause that that color represents. And it's always located in the name of the lipstick. So for instance, we have Aleppo, which is ironic because I'm sitting with it because I'm going to be wearing it today. Aleppo is like that classic red, right? And so you go to Aleppo and you see that anytime that you buy an Aleppo stick, 10% of the profits that for each one that's bought is going towards the White Helmets. For those of you who don't know the White Helmets is pretty much the Netflix documentary, which I really recommend everybody watch. But it is like these local Aleppo citizens who are first responders whenever bombs are dropped around the city of Aleppo. And so like literally it's these guys that are like brothers, they are fathers, they are uncles that have gotten together and have saved like tens of thousands of their own just by being first responders in places that are decimated around Syria from all the bombing and everything that's going on. And so, and they just have white helmets, and that's where they got their name. They put these white helmets on, they put these face masks on, and they get like boots to the ground, hands in the dirt, and they are saving lives. And so that is something that speaks to me. So you have everything from, you know, something as serious as Aleppo and the white helmets to, you know, in Haiti, we have a color Haiti that is like flying. The color Haiti, you give back to actually a tribe member's nonprofit where she takes different kids around Haiti, and it's like a photography nonprofit and showing them expression through photography, you know. And then Madness as a whole is in partnerships with the Nelson Mandela Foundation in Joburg. Joburg is probably our #1 seller. Joburg right now, and then Haiti is #2 and Aleppo is #3. But Joburg, it's like that goes back to the Nelson Mandela Foundation. So you just see all these loves and a lot of personal stories. You know, for me, being in Nomadness, to understand that there's a personal connectivity that I have to the members and that I always try to bring back with that family vibe in the tribe. And now I want to do that and create a level of that with makeup.
So you talked about how you kind of tossed the ideal around with some of the people that you work with through the TED internship, is it?
Yeah, the TED, it's a residency.
Yeah. So how long did it take for you to develop this? When did you initially get the ideal, and how long did it take to develop to put it out to people?
Like a month, which is crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
This is the thing. And I said this to one of my friends recently. I was like, you know what I realized? I was like, I move fast, right? I'm a New Yorker. I'm an Aries businesswoman. I talk fast. I walk fast. I do things fast. However, I'm noticing as I get older, I'm moving faster. And I sat back for a second and I tried to understand why. And the only answer that I think I came up with, to be honest with you, is I think I have more confidence in myself. When I started Nomadness, even up until the last time I saw you, you know, if it was like in Bali, which was like a shit show, but I had to get through it, like there was just a sense of I was still figuring this thing out. And I had to go through like the growing pains of all of this stuff. And I'm glad that I had a lot of those things happen early, because they allowed me to go into self-worth. They allowed me to go into finding out when I need to take a break and when I'm okay to push forward. It made me reveal layers of myself. It forced me to. And so I think what's happened over the last 5.5, almost 6 years is I'm more confident in myself and I'm more confident in what I bring to the table. And if I stand by it and it's a quality product to me, I'm going to trust myself to push it out. And there doesn't need to be all this, you know, just this stretched out thought process behind it. You know, it doesn't need to be this drawn out thing. It's like, move, get it done. And I see so many people around me that get stuck in this paralysis. They want to analyze everything and create the business plan and, you know, mock up everything. And it's just like, you're never going to move, because all of these things eventually become excuses for you. You know, it's not perfect. And I don't believe in perfection anymore. I really don't. I believe in perfecting, it being a process and it being a verb, but I don't believe in perfection, especially in needing to start. Just start. And so I was like, look, I put it out on Facebook. I swear I did. I put it out on Facebook. I was like, listen, I want to come out with a lipstick line. And I need to know a place where I can start making lipsticks. And I was like, where do I go for this? I had no idea. I wasn't working in beauty. And literally my network, as robust as it is and awesome as it is, commenting on my private Facebook page, and they were just like, well, do you want to do white label? Do you want to not? Do you want to do a recipe? And they were giving me classes that I could sign up for in New York. And so I linked with the creator of Bold Rich. And she was like, I don't think you want one of my classes. She's like, I think I know what you want to do, and this ain't it. So let's have a private conversation. So we linked up, and we had like an entrepreneurial sister, you know, kind of conversation. And really she helped me put everything together. And because this was her forte, I was able to move faster on my end because I was dealing with someone who knew her shit. And I appreciate her forever for that.
That story in itself is amazing, but you touched on so many different keys that I wanted to actually ask you about in this interview. And one of them, which has always stood out for me in terms of what you convey, is confidence. I remember listening to an interview of yours, maybe back in 2013 or 2014, but it was a few years ago. And I remember you saying very boldly, there is nothing that you feel like once you decide you want to do it, that you can't do.
Yeah.
So what gives you that confidence when, you know, so many people, as you said before, get stuck in analysis paralysis, or are afraid to take that next step, or maybe, you know, doubt themselves and don't think that they are good enough. So, you know, address those 2 points.
Right.
Where do you get your confidence from? And then how can other people build up their confidence or not worry so much about all the other factors and just move forward?
Right. Well, be clear, I'm crazy. I'm crazy. And you have to be a bit crazy, I think, to be an entrepreneur. You've got to be a little bit sick, you know? You have to live in a state of illusion. You have to be a little bit of a magician. You have to be a little bit of a, you know, you have to live, I don't know. It's just, you have to be a mix of all of these things that don't really make sense to regular people, because you have to see things that essentially aren't there yet. But not only do you have to see it, you have to believe it so strongly that you actually create it and manifest it into life. That's not normal, you know? And
it's not.
No, it's not. And it is a little bit crazy, you know, and you do go crazy every once in a while, kind of living this type of lifestyle. It tests your wits. But to be honest with you, in the beginning, I had to fake it until I made it. And that's just real. I've always been opinionated, even as a child. I've always had conviction, even as a child. Even if I was wrong, I would just be convicted. And then somebody would like tell me I was wrong, and I'd be like, oh shit, okay. You know? And then I would turn into like being convicted on the right side of history, you know? So I've always had that, even as a child. I have this picture that I put up every birthday. And my birthday was in March. So about a month ago, I put it up, and it's me as a little girl, and my hands are standing like this. This was my pose as a child, very like hands on the hips, super womanish. And I was like knock-kneed and pigeon-toed, and you see both in that photo. But I had this umbrella that I stuck into the ground. And so it's like me with this like cane, my representation of a cane, and my hand on my hip, and my face up to the sky. And I think about it every time I see that photo, and I'm like, if I would have seen that photo of another young girl at that age right now, I'd be like, that chick is going to run shit. Do you hear me? Mm-hmm. Like, and she already knows it. Mm-hmm. And so when I see that picture as myself, it's very telling. And I think I've always had an opinion. I've always had a voice. I've always used my voice, and I've always had conviction. Confidence, however, is different. Mm-hmm. Confidence is something that I have not always had, and I don't always have. I think I float in and out of it. And, you know, I get nervous like everybody else. I get scared. Anytime there's an event buy-in or a trip buy-in, I'm terrified. The first couple hours of people showing up on a Nomadness trip or event, I'm still nervous, wondering if anybody's going to show up. It doesn't matter how many tickets have been bought. I'm like, nobody's going to show up. Oh my God.
What?
You know, I go through all
even
of that.
possible
I'm serious.
With the success that you've had with these trips.
But this is the fucked up nature of the human mind.
It is.
You know? And so it's like that's when I lean on historical value. That's when I lean on, you know, my team. It's like I lean on reality. Because essentially what it is it's not reality. It's this story that you've made up in your brain, right?
Exactly.
So I look at it for exactly what it is, but of course I go through issues, you know, with confidence in business and in, you know, personal life, you know, whether it's image issues, you know, right now I'm in a room every day with some of the most brilliant minds in the world, and we're all dealing with confidence issues because we have to stand and give a TED Talk in a month. Like, that shit is nerve-wracking. I don't care who you are. There's famous people who have turned down TED Talks because they haven't been confident enough to get on that stage. These are the things that you don't hear about in the background that we're learning now. Right. And so it takes balls, but, you know, you have to step into the fear, you know, and be confident. But then there are certain things that I have blind confidence in, where I'm just like, no, this is it. But I think my confidence comes from the fact that I know I'm going to work my ass off and do whatever it takes to succeed in this, whatever this is. Gotcha. And so my confidence really comes from work, my work ethic. It also comes from, in 2013? No, 2013, my year lesson was prioritization. 2014, I do this end of the year review blog every year. And I never think anybody reads it. And then I realize that a ton of people read it. But I realize that my years take on themes, and I don't start my year with any theme. I let the year reveal the theme to me. 2013, a la the year that ended with Bali. That year I was learning prioritization because things were like, it was like I was taking on so much. I went full steam ahead and I was just like killing myself. And I took a step back, I scaled a bit down, and I moved a little bit slower because I needed to see what was up with like the priorities in my life. And then the year after that, though, 2014 was the year of self-worth. That year changed my life. How so? Because it was like, and these lessons, I don't learn these lessons easy. It's usually a shit show. But it usually is a shit show. Like, something happens and I'm like, ugh, you know, or it's like bumper cars. You know, 2015 was the year of competition, and I felt like there was just people popping up with travel groups all over the place. And I was like, bruh. And learning how to navigate that space for me, that was a huge lesson for me in 2015, and learning how to get comfortable with it. But 2014 self-worth was the year that I gained that confidence you speak of. That was the year that I was like, no, you got this. Like, and you are worth this. There's something with confidence and worth that goes hand in hand. And I think a lot of us have issues with self-worth, and that's where our confidence lacks. You know? And so for me, once I got into that year and I realized that, no, I am worth success. I am worth the prices that I'm going to now ask for keynote speeches and for things of the like. I am worth a television show. I am worth having a book deal. I am worth these things. That was when I changed as a person. And that led to my confidence.
So you have, you know, in spite of that process, that personal process that you've gone through, you have accomplished a ton of things. So the Nomadness Travel Tribe, that started back in 2011, correct? So since then, only, what is this, 2017, 6 years later, you have basically exploded on the scene in terms of being an entrepreneur, in terms of being an icon for, you know, travel or Black travel. You're still working on a book, is that correct? Or?
Yeah, I'm still working. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. The two things that I want the most personally have been the two longest processes. And one is my travel memoir, which I'm still in the process of. And two is nailing a travel television show. Which is starting to move in a way that I really like right now. So fingers are crossed on that.
Yeah. So in addition to that, you know, you have Compass by Evita. You are a keynote speaker. You're an expert in crowdfunding. how do you keep it all together? Like, you know, is it the team? Is it prioritization? What is it that keeps you going to keep the things that are already established and working afloat, and then constantly adding on other business ventures?
It's both of what you said. It's that 2013 year lesson of priorities. And that came about, I'm really cool with Pharoah Monch, the rapper. And so I was asking him that year, I was just like, yo, how do you keep everything together? And he told me this story, and it's the abridged version of like, this warrior is in battle and their opponent has all these weapons that they're throwing at them at the same time. But what looked like it was the same time actually wasn't the same time. And so what the warrior did was he slowed down time just enough to see, however, be it how small it was, that there was in fact a space between all these weapons coming at him at the same time. And when you slow your mind down enough to be able to really see, it looks like everything's coming at you at the same time, but it's not in reality. Again, getting back to the reality of the situation.
Right.
You start to know what to pick off at what time. And that's how you protect yourself. And I never forgot that story. And so for me, it is setting priorities. It's also setting boundaries. And that's something that I've had to implement a lot more as of lately. You know, people needing my time and wanting my time for all types of different things, knowing when to say no and understanding no is a complete sentence that you should not be ashamed to dish out at will. That was huge for me. And absolutely the team is cool because like high council for the most part knows how everything is supposed to function on that part, you know, like the community and the tribe end, which is dope. So we get together with the events and we have new people. High council looks different from when it started, you know, and the new people have been amazing, like phenomenal assets. So in that regard, yes, they help me keep my head on straight. And we're even fine tuning our process internally to make sure that as certain things start to blow up, you know, as I start to prepare for a book tour or shooting for however many months on a travel television show, that we already have these ducks in a row now, so that it's not this big surprise and this mad dash when we have to start like moving for real.
Right.
So, and I'm super grateful for that. And new people that will come on to help with High Council are also, you know, assets to that. It's really about just, you have a canoe that has holes in it. You need to plug those holes with people that are great at what they do and that love what they do, you know, and ask for help in that regard. But, and it's funny because I got this, Nikki, who is another one of my fellow TED residents, was just like, asked me the same question. How do you keep it all together? This, that, and the other. And I actually told her, I was like, you know, what's really funny, particularly about Compass, is that Compass is like fun for me. It's fun for me, and it's a brain break from the intensity that like Nomadness can be at times. I'm like, if all I have to do this afternoon is put stickers on lipsticks and mail them out, like I'm actually really okay with that.
Right.
I'm actually really okay with that. And it gives me one thing to focus. We're constantly with Nomadness, my brain is so disjointed in so many different places that it's never just one thing I'm thinking about. It's like a million, you know? And so this gives me a fun outlet that is also a business, you know, a business model.
So Nomadness is still really a huge piece of what you do. It's still the nucleus.
It's everything. It's the everything, you know, and I believe it will always be, to be honest with you. I think everything else will kind of be an offshoot. I just think Nomadness is going to be remixed into what we do. You know, it's like the pivot from how we used to do group trips and now we're doing events. So you're seeing change and you're seeing growth, but it's still all under the umbrella that is Nomadness Travel Tribe. Same thing with what we're going to be doing with, you know, buying property. You know, all of these things are going to flood back to the community always.
Cause seems to be a big in everything you do, in addition to travel. Travel is really, really huge. Being able to create seems really, really huge for you. And also having a cause or a purpose behind that. So talk about that and how that seems to always be woven into everything that you do.
You literally pinpointed the triad.
Oh, okay.
You like nailed it. You did. You nailed the triad, because I'm an artist first before an entrepreneur. So you got the creativity piece, because that creation has to be a part of everything I do, or else I won't do it. I'll get bored, and like the inner child in me won't be able to play. And then obviously travel is a huge part. And then now you have the causes. The world can be a really fucked up place. And I live life with a sense of urgency. I don't know where that comes from, but I've always had it. It's just innate in me. I need to make sure, and I'm going to cry. I need to make sure I'm doing my part, so that at the end of my life, whenever the hell that is, I can look back and be like, you know what? I did that shit, but I brought value to the world and to people's lives. I do believe in the idea of conscious capitalism. I don't, like, so many times, especially coming from the artist community, I see some of my friends who are like, you know, this whole starving artist shit. Like, no, that's not how you're supposed to live. Like, you bring something so beautiful to the world. You should absolutely, you should never feel shame in being compensated for that, you know? Yeah. And handsomely, you know? The creators of the world are the people that are changing it. And so I believe that there is this intersection in having a conscience and being able to bring people together and make the world better, and also being able to make money off of that and not being ashamed of it, you know? And I think, especially in the Black community, God, it's like we're starting so much farther behind, you know? And part of it, I think, is like this mentality that has just been generationally etched into our brains, you know, as to our self-worth, you know, like going back to self-worth. Right. And it takes so long to break that shit, you know, but it's so necessary to do the work to break it. And so for me, I have to be able to look at myself in the mirror at the end of the day, you know, which for me means I need to show up. I need to show up for people. I need to show up for the world. I need to show up in a way that I know that I'm doing something that really impacts people and moves them and changes their lives for the better. And that's really, really, really important to me. As I get older, I'm named after Evita Perón. And my parents said that, like, they wanted to name their children after powerful women outside of the United States. My sister's name is Serafina out of South Africa. Yeah. But I'm named after Evita Perón, and I've always taken her story with me. But like, as I get older, I realize that I feel like I'm very much my own version of an extension of my namesake. And I take that very seriously. You know, she was all about like the labor class and people who, you know, they said couldn't afford these things, and, you know, putting labor laws and child laws in. And she just had this movement that was so powerful. And the crazy thing is, like, she died at the age of 33. And I think of this woman who has done all this stuff. And it hit me really hard this year because a month ago I turned 33. Yeah. And so it's like, I feel like in a way I'm kind of doing my version of her work.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I think it's beautiful that you are, you know, your passion, it hits to the core. Yeah. And that you actually are making a difference in so many different people's lives through, you know, however you want to look at this small thing called travel, or this big thing called travel. Can you talk to me about how do you stay inspired? Because, you know, people like you who are constantly giving, that's energy that's being out, right? So how do you replenish yourself? How do you keep going in order to keep doing what it is that you do or what you're passionate about and help others?
I sleep my ass off. People don't think I sleep, but I sleep my ass off. Like, I'm notorious for like at least a couple times a month, I can sleep for like 10, 11 hours straight. And sleep is big for me. I write in my journal. I'm on I want to say I'm approaching my 30th journal. I have my life on paper since 10th grade in high school. And
Wow.
so that's big for me. That's
Yeah.
like the free therapy that I use. I have a therapist that I go to.
Mm-hmm.
She's had me since college. She's had me for about 12 years. There
Wow.
was a 3 or 4 year gap in which I stopped going to her at one point. And then when the Panama accident happened, I called her while I was in Panama and I was like, I need to start sessions remotely while I'm here and in person as soon as I get home.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been back with her since Panama.
Yeah.
I have a homeopath. I used to have severe anxiety and panic attacks when I was in college. And I started to go to a homeopath and get all natural remedies that was recommended by my therapist. They're actually friends. And that was big for me. That was life-changing for me. And it's something that you don't have to do all the time. You know, I may talk to her every couple of years, but the remedies and the things that she gives me help me get through stuff. And after I got over, you know, after I got the coping mechanisms that I needed to deal with my anxiety and panic attacks, when I went to her again for my follow-up a couple years later, she's like, you're in a completely different space and your remedy has changed. She's like, you want to be a mom and everything that you're talking about is like creation. She's like, you want to be a mom in motherhood. You want to be a mom and create in business, in your community, in all of these ways. Like you are a creator and you're in this space. So my remedy changed a couple of years ago. And honestly, one of the reasons why I'm so focused on like family, but particularly like a relationship, and I want my like husband to show himself, is because I realize that when I'm in personal relationships, that is my equilibrium. I am very much a workaholic. And so when I am with a love, I turn my computer off, my phone is off, it's put away, I don't think about it. And those are my moments of refuge. And I realize how important it is for me to have those intimate relationships in my life.
Gotcha.
And so all of these have kind of become a part of my refuge. I, you know, living in my own space now, which I moved into about 9 months ago, you know, just sitting down, meditation, reading has always been a big thing for me. I am an extrovert who has a lot of very introverted tendencies. So I do things alone. I go to the movies alone all the time. I read alone. I write alone. Whenever I have a big output of energy, like say it's a No Madness event where it's a lot of entertaining and people, I am known and my team has now become accustomed where I become recluse for a couple days afterwards.
Yeah.
As soon as the event's done, I go kind of black out. And for like a good, maybe like 2 days,
Right.
I don't want to do anything. And I just have people kind of leave me alone. And that's my moment to recharge.
Why don't you tell me your thoughts on the Black travel movement? Is it really a movement or is it just people more aware of it because of social media today? And what are your thoughts on that?
I think it is a movement, but I think it's a movement that is going to be so powerful and is so powerful that at some point it's just going to become part of the norm. And that's when you know you've really made difference. You know, when you start something that is a bit unorthodox to the general public and then it becomes normal, you know? And the reason why I say that is because of social media. Social media has given the opportunity to have a permission in the seeing, right? It's like, you know, previous generations, you know, we didn't really have the connectivity of the internet. They didn't have social media, but now we do. And these younger generations that are going to come up even after us, you know, are seeing like, wait a second, these Black people are in Pamplona running with the bulls. They are in India, Holy Festival of Colors. They may be the only Black people there, but they're still there.
Yeah.
And that's the representation that I've always wanted No Madness to have, because that's what I represented as a 20-something-year-old Black girl backpacker before I started the tribe. You know, it really always starts with me. I use myself as a guinea pig for all of this. And I realized something that I needed, and I just didn't realize that so many other people needed it around the world too. So I definitely think it's a movement, and I don't use the word movement lightly. I think people throw that around, like they start something new one day and it's a movement, and it's like, all right, chill. You know, I think you need to be anointed as a movement, if that makes sense. I don't think it's something you just bust out the gate, enabling yourself.
Right.
You need to be anointed by a community, by a people, by an industry as being a movement. And I do believe that No Madness and the Black travel movement is just that.
All right. Was there any last thoughts or any business announcements that you wanted to make?
No, I mean, Compass by Evita.com, obviously, for people who want to get in on Compass, I would tell everybody to probably hitting this fall to look out for the TED Talk. And we are going to be releasing the iOS version of our Nomadness app in July.
All right. Well, Evita, thank you so much.
Good to see you, love.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.